The Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears. I really wonder how this team is really going to be this year. They really didn't do a whole lot in the offseason to help out Justin Fields in terms of the offensive line that they needed for a long time. But and they also don't really have anything really left on defense for them. So this might be a really another down year for the Bears and Justin Fields in his second year. So, what do you guys think? Do you guys think that the Chicago Bears are going to improve, despite of what I'm saying? Do you think they'll get worse? Do you think they'll be around the same as where they were a year ago? There's a lot of questions about Chicago. They finally do have their franchise quarterback in Justin Fields, and that's great. But I think there's still a lot of questions in terms of trying to protect them. So we're going to take a look at the schedule for the Chicago Bears and see what we can predict. It's your boy James here. Let's get started. Okay, so week one, you have the San Francisco 49ers traveling to Chicago to play the Bears. This game, honestly, can really be an interesting game to start out the season because while I do think the 49ers are going to be good, I think they're going to kind of struggle early on in the season, whether if it's going to be Jimmy Garoppolo or if it's going to be Trey Lance. I think they're either quarterback, excuse me. I think they're going to struggle either way against this Chicago team. And depending if Debo Samuel is there or not, might make a difference in this game. If all those pieces were in the 49ers, I could confidently say that the 49ers would win this game. However, because it's in Chicago and those things are kind of questionable right now, I think I'm going to lean a little bit more towards Chicago in this game. And I think the reasons behind it for me is pretty evident in terms of the way of how the San Francisco team is. We don't really know how they're going to be for sure. I think they're a good team. I think they have a good roster on both sides of the ball. But I think they're going to struggle early on in trying to figure out who their quarterback is going to be. I don't think they're going to get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo right now. So I think Chicago is going to take that win and what some may consider kind of an upset, early season upset in that one. Then you got the Green Bay Packers. I've talked about it before. It's hard to win in Green Bay. I don't see that changing. I think Chicago is going to struggle against Green Bay yet again this year. I think they'll be swept yet again. So I'm taking the Packers in that one. It's not really anything close. Then you got the Houston Texans traveling to Chicago. When I did do my predictions video for the Houston Texans earlier this season. I mean, not earlier this season, earlier this week. I did say the Houston Texans are going to win this game, and I still think that is a true statement. I do think Houston does have a good possibility to win this game, and the reasons behind that is mostly going to revolve around the offense for the Texans. I think they have a little bit more that Davis Mills can work on. And I think they can take advantage a little bit on the Chicago's defense. Chicago, on the other hand, does have some things that they can do. They can definitely use David Montgomery. And I think David Montgomery can have a great game on the ground. But I think at the end of the day, I don't think you can really just rely on the run game to win games in games like this. So I'm taking Houston to win that game and what may be considered kind of like an upset game for them. And then in week four, you have the Chicago Bears traveling to New Jersey to play the Giants. I think this game is going to be very close. The Chicago Bears last year found a way to really demolish the Giants in their home stadium. And the reasons behind why they really beat them as bad as they did is because Mike Glennon was the quarterback for the Giants last year as their backup, and he was just absolutely atrocious. That offensive line could not protect them at all. So the Giants last year were a mess. But I think with the Giants offseason stuff that they've been able to do, I can see the Giants being able to finally avenge their loss and beat the Bears at home. So I'm going to take the Giants to win that game. And then week five, you look at the Bears traveling to Minnesota to play the Vikings. I think the Vikings win this first matchup against Chicago. It's very tough to play in Minnesota. Typically, Kirk Cousins doesn't usually play very well against the Bears, but I think when he does play them, it's more he plays better when he's at home against them. So I'm picking the Vikings to win at home, and later on in the season, I think Chicago will split with the Vikings. Then in week 6, you have the Washington Commanders traveling to Soldier Field on a Thursday night. I think I picked, and yes, I did. I did pick Chicago to win that game, and the reasons behind that was mostly because I don't know how Carson Wentz is going to be able to handle the Bears defense. I don't think the Bears defense is really anything as scary as it was the past few years, but I think Carson Wentz for some reason or another, I think he's going to struggle a little bit with trying to find the right rhythm to play the Chicago Bears for that reason. I think just because they're not as strong as they used to be on defense, um, doesn't really matter. I think they're going to struggle either way. With that, I don't think Carson Wentz is going to be able to really handle that pressure, especially in a rough crowd on prime time in Chicago. It's a tough place to play. So I'm going to say that the Chicago Bears will win that game. Then in week 7, you have the Bears traveling to New England. I picked New England on Monday Night Football to win that game. I think New England's just a better team overall. I'm not going to say, I think, and they're also a better coach team too. I'm not going to say Mac Jones is better than Justin Fields. I think they're both pretty evenly matched with one another. But I think with the coaching in Belichick, I think is more trustworthy. So that's why I lean towards more the Patriots there. And then you've got the Bears traveling to Dallas to play the Cowboys. The Cowboys are kind of a tricky team to really figure out this year. I don't know if they're really going to be good or if they're going to be really bad. But I did pick the Cowboys, I believe, to win this game in Dallas because I think Dallas can take advantage of their offense. I think they can take advantage of Justin Fields and company. They'll get some sacks, they'll get turnovers. And I think Dak can dice up the Chicago secondary. So that's why I picked the Dallas Cowboys to win that one. Even though they're not a very good team, the Cowboys, I don't think they're like the greatest team in the world, but I think if you take a look at it on paper, I think the Cowboys are just a far superior team over the Bears. Week 9, we've got the Miami Dolphins traveling to Chicago. I believe I did pick the Miami Dolphins to win that game, and I think I'm going to stick by that. I think the Dolphins should win that game. I think with the use of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are going to be really hard for the Chicago secondary to be able to stop. So that's the way I look at it. I see the Dolphins winning in Chicago. It's not going to be an easy or pretty matchup for them, but I do believe that the Dolphins will win that game in Chicago. Then in week 10, I do have the Bears splitting with the Lions this year. I think they're going to win in week 10 at home, and then they're probably going to lose to them later on in the season. So they're going to be around here. So I think they're going to lose. They're going to beat the Lions, and I think they're going to lose to them this season. So that's the way I look at it. So then we're looking at the Bears going to Atlanta to play the Falcons. The Falcons are one of the worst teams in the NFL this year. I think the Bears might be able to take advantage of this, but at the same time, it really wouldn't shock me if the Falcons did find a way to win this game either, especially because it's indoors. I could see the Falcons being able to pull off some kind of upset over this team. So I'm going to think about that for a sec. I'm probably going to leave that one blank for a sec and go back to it in a second. And then you have week 12. You have the Bears traveling back to New Jersey to play the Jets. I did pick the Jets to win this game, I believe. I think the Jets defense is significantly improved. I think their run defense is going to really give David Montgomery some trouble. And I think they can get to Justin Fields, especially as bad as their offensive line it really is. I think the Bears and the Jets will get the best of Justin Fields and company. I'm going to take the Jets to win that game. Then in week 13, you've got the Green Bay Packers going to Chicago again. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Green Bay is just a far superior team. They should have no problem really sweeping the Bears this year. Then you come off the bye week of week 14, so you're not looking so good. You've only won 3 games, so you're probably going to miss the playoffs already with a 3-9 record. So then you're looking at the Eagles right here. You're looking at the Eagles game right here in Chicago. This game, I can honestly say that this game could really go either way. But I think the Eagles are just a better team overall on both sides of the ball. And I don't think the Bears are going to really be able to score much points against. I think if they want to score points, I think they really need, and if they want to get the passing game going, I think they would have to really use David Montgomery to the best of their ability. I think Darnell Mooney would have to have a masterful game, and all the other receivers that they really have. I don't know all the receivers that the Bears have right now because they've done a lot of weird trades over the last few seasons with Matt Nagy. So yeah, I can see that game going really either way, but I did pick the Eagles to win that one, and I think I'm going to stand by that. Then in week 16, you got the Bills in Chicago. Yeah, I'm going to keep that short and sweet. Bills, one of the best teams in the AFC. They should win that game. Then we talked about Detroit. They'll be playing in Detroit, and they'll probably lose that game. Then in week 18, the Vikings come to Chicago. I'm going to pick Chicago to win that game in Chicago. They're not a good team, the Chicago Bears, but I think at this point in time, I think either the Vikings or the Packers will have the division clinched by like the last 3 weeks or so of the season. So I don't think Kirk Cousins and company are going to be playing in that game unless they really, really have to if the division comes down to the wire. Either way, I think the Bears do win that game in Chicago, typically because the Vikings they really struggle in Chicago. So that's why I go with that game in Chicago to win that game. So then that kind of leaves it up to week 11 with the Atlanta Falcons. Again, like I said, I don't think the Falcons are any good this year. I really don't, because they don't have a lot around them that really scares you. And the defense is honestly really, actually, I think they're worse than the Bears defense, if I'm being honest with you. So this is a tough game to really pick between the two. Now, if it was in Soldier Field, I would say the Bears would win, but since it's inside, it's different. So I don't really know how this game is really going to pan out. I think the Falcons are going to win at least 2 or 3 games this year. And honestly, to be quite honest with you, it really wouldn't shock me that much if it did come to the Bears. But I think because I think the Bears are a little bit better than the Falcons, I think I'm going to pick the Bears to win that one in week 11. So now you're looking at a 5-12 record. So you've already declined from a year ago, from a 6-11 record to 5-12 now, which really isn't good because you really need a lot more help in terms of your offensive line, and your defense needs to get better. So that's just the way I see it, though. So 5-7, I think this is really the best that the Bears are going to be this year. I don't expect them to be any better. They honestly could be worse than 5-12. I really could see them probably only winning 3 games at most this year if I really wanted to. But I think 5-12 is a good enough record to show what the Bears are going to be able to do. They'll win some games. They'll keep some games close, but not a whole lot. I don't have a lot of faith in this Bears team. I don't think they're really anything good this year. I think they're going to take a really big step back yet again. So let me know in the comments down below what you guys think about the Bears. That concludes everybody in the AFC North. So the next time of when I do these videos again, we'll talk about the NFC South teams. And let me know what you guys think. I hope you all have a great day.